reason, they showed a step up in enthusiasm and energy. So I think I'm going to go with that and say FC by 8. What about you?
I have no confidence in either of these teams. I do think Hull have got their eye on the cup. So I'm going to say Wakefield by 4, but it's a total guess. I just think Hull will be concentrating on the cup, on the idea of, better chance to win something this year.
Fair enough. Yeah, I find it hard to pick. I find this next one
hard to pick as well. Yeah, so Thursday 8:15 on Sky, it's Cass, the other team, playing on Sunday against Warrington. In much the same way as using the logic of the previous game, I'm going to go for Wire in this one. They look good. Not that Castleford didn't, but 2 games in 4 days, tough stuff with the squad you've got. So I'm going to say Wire by 10.
I've written the same thing, Wire by 10, but I'm really not sure which way to go on this one. I think Cass have ironed out a few issues, and getting that win last week against Salford, that they're starting to show something. They've got some key players performing well. Warrington, can they do the same thing 2 weeks in a row when it comes to their ability to, for what side they're going to pick, hasn't changed much, has it, from last week?
No.
In reality, because of the 2 week period and stuff that the players had to isolate for the 6 or the 7 that are out. But I just think in Austin, in Clark, and in Ratchford, I think they've got enough there that just overcomes Richardson, McShane and O'Brien. And I know Ratchford probably won't play at fullback, but still, I just think they've got a bit more. So I'm going to go Wire by 10, but I really wouldn't be surprised if Cass won this one.
Yes. Moving on to Friday at 6, it's St Helens against Hull KR. Can lightning strike twice, Mark? I mean, it can, but will it?
In that 2 weeks ago Saints won by 18 points or whatever it was, yes, that can happen twice.
All right. I was more referring to Hull KR springing a surprise, but whatever you like.
I know you were. Saints by 20, probably more. No offence to Hull KR, who were fantastic last week, but they were playing against a team that were top of the league, but they weren't playing against a team that were the best team in the competition right now, and that is St Helens, unfortunately.
Yeah, St Helens only really played 40 minutes last week because the last 40 was in a post-training room, basically. Saints by 16.
Okay.
Also on Friday, 8:15, it is Leeds versus Huddersfield. I've already done my Super Brew. I think I went for Huddersfield just because. Why not? So I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say there's absolutely nothing that would suggest that Huddersfield can win this one. I hear maybe Caesar might be back, but I don't know. But why not? Huddersfield by 1, just for the shits and giggles.
I'm going Leeds by 14.
Okay, that's more sensible.
For all the reasons you said, I'm going in the totally opposite direction. It seems like you were picking a win for St Helens, for Leeds, but you just couldn't help but say Huddersfield somewhere along the way. Look,
it's
Caesar,
from the Tom Andrews
Mecca
speculative
with maybe 1 or 2 players coming back that they maybe held out of the last week's game, because last week was the short turnaround. This week they got a full week. Maybe Huddersfield will be a better looking side on paper. I just think Leeds have got the top 4 in their eyes, whereas Huddersfield have got some questions to answer with stuff. Don't think the Wolford stuff's going to help Huddersfield as this stands. With no relegation and not being able to put your best team out, it doesn't bode well for the team unity when your coach is also looking the other way. So I'm going Leeds.
Yeah, that's a totally fine decision. Right, Saturday, 5:00, in front of 5,000 Catalonians and maybe the odd pie eater, if you don't have to work or she doesn't have to work. It is Catalan versus Wigan. What do you reckon?
Well, when they were meant to play a couple of weeks ago, I said Catalans by 10 because Catalans seem to be having more ability to win at the moment. I just think they're playing better than Wigan are at the moment. So I'm going to stick with that. I think Catalans are playing better than Wigan. I know they've had a break, an enforced break, which may not have helped, but we saw Hull FC come out of that recently and do well. So it's not necessarily a nail in the coffin there. And I think with Wigan, the only thing that I think plays in Wigan's favour is they'll have had a lot to look at from that game last week and plenty of time to look through it and figure out what they weren't doing that they should be doing. So that might be helpful. But I don't trust Jackson Hastings to lead this side at the moment. I trust him to be brilliant often, but I don't trust him to get the rest of the team going with him. And so without O'Loughlin and Luluai, that worries me. Now O'Loughlin and Luluai potentially are going to be back in this game, so maybe that swings it around, and Sam Powell's playing well and showing some good stuff. I don't know. Wigan might make a few positional changes. Maybe with French going on the wing and Hardaker going to fullback might be something they want to think about doing. But Catalans by 10, I look across the board and the matchups favour Catalan.
Yeah, I can't disagree. They're well rested. They've had playing, they're playing in front of a crowd, a passionate crowd. It's going to feel like 30-odd thousand at the new camp in it after you've been playing in empty stadiums. So I'm going to say Catalan by 6.
Fair enough. And then there's the Challenge Cup game, of course, isn't there, on Sunday, 3 p.m. BBC One. Castleford versus Hull FC. So two teams we've just talked about. One team, with their selection for the Super League games, has, to me, put half an eye on this cup game, whereas the other one hasn't. Where do you think that leaves you on this one? Cass kind of trying to play the same, probably going to try and play most of the same players, whereas Hull FC have tried to make a few changes.
Purely based on pedigree, I'm going to go for FC. But not by much. I'd say FC by 2. These two have had some cracking cup games from in recent memory. So yeah, but I'm going to stick with FC because I do think they're concentrating on this. So yeah, FC by 2.
I'm going to go the other way and go Cass by 2. I think Cass will limit what they do in training and just hope that they can get the best out of the players in the two games, I think, and treat this genuinely like an Easter weekend. They might look at more rotation when it's Super League games rolling into each other, but this will be two games that they want to win, and I think they're going to try and ride some confidence and continuity. One thing that Hull FC won't be getting back is Sneyd and probably not Shaw, so that's big, I think. Bigger than what you are resting and stuff for when you're playing a cup game. Sneyd is key to their cup situation. So that's what leads me towards Cass by 2. I think Richardson and McShane will be able to play both those games and play well.
We will see. So it's round 18 of the NRL. Blooming heck, only 3 rounds left. So Thursday at 10:50, it's West Tigers against Rabbitohs. Friday at 9, Bulldogs against the Seagulls. Saturday, 3 games. So at 6 a.m, Dragons Raiders. 8:30 a.m, Titans Broncos. And then at 10:35, Roosters versus the Knights. So if you watch any of those 11 matches or anything else random around the world of Rugby League, drop us a review on the Google form and it will be much appreciated.
Yeah, hopefully look forward to all those games and that they all go ahead. In fact,
that'd be
that
nice.
time of the night where we should check the. Just do a quick check of the headlines to see if there's any new testing. Nothing yet.
I feel like the news had already come out before we started recording, but famous last words and everything.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the show wrap up then. Wrap-up time for episode 278, and we're going to start with the quiz, as we tend to do. I've got 3 questions for you on something that's took my attention over the last week. And this week we're going to do our quiz on Callum Watkins. Because I think that's one of the big exciting news stories of the week, isn't it? His move to Salford Red Devils, and we'll get to see one of the stars of the last 10 years of Super League back in action, and hopefully get him somewhere back to his best is what we would ideally like to see. So I'm going to ask you some questions about Callum Watkins' career. Nothing too complicated, stuff that you can have a good guess at.
Okay,
the first
good.
question I'm going to ask is, which side has Callum Watkins been on the winning side against the most times? So which other side has Callum Watkins beaten the most times in his career so far?
It will be an NRL side.
No, he didn't win a single game or score a single try, so that's not one of the quiz questions.
I'm going to say Wakefield.
It's actually the team he's just joined, Salford.
Right.
So he's played 19 times against the Red Devils. He's been on the winning side 17 times and the losing side only twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a record.
It is, yeah. It's very impressive. I'm not sure how much he's sort of had to do with that, really, but
he was there.
Yeah, he was there, and he scored 74 points in those games, actually.
That's all right.
Which is actually the team he scored the most points against as well, which would tally quite well, wouldn't it? But anyway, second question is about his try-scoring exploits. So there's 2 sides that Callum Watkins has scored 13 tries against in his career so far, 2 Super League sides. Can you name either one of them?
Be a total guess, obviously. Cass.
Yes, Castleford is one of them. In 24 appearances against Cass, he scored 13 tries, but has a losing record against Cass. I'm sure Fat Boy Rob would be all over this anyway. But 11 wins and 12 defeats. He also has a losing record against Warrington, 9 wins and 12 defeats, and against Huddersfield, 8 wins and 11 defeats, and 3 draws.
The Huddersfield one's a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, so the other team that he scored 13 tries against is Hull Kingston Rovers, 13 tries in 20 games against them. The final question about Callum Watkins is approximately, and I'll give you to the nearest 500, so go up in 500s. Okay. What is the difference between the number of Instagram followers that Callum Watkins has versus the number of Instagram followers that Sophie Watkins has? And I want you to tell me which person has more followers, and then approximately to the nearest 1,000 what the difference is in their number of followers.
Who's Sophie Watkins?
Callum Watkins' wife.
Okay. Remind me of the questions again. So,
Callum Watkins and Sophie Watkins, Instagram followers. I want you to tell me which one of the two has the most and by how many they have the most by. And I'll give you 500.
All right, okay, I get you. Right, okay. I'm going to guess she's got more because, Instagram's a visual medium. And I reckon she's got 5,000 more.
So she has got more. And when I first looked at this to come up with a question before we started doing the show, he had less than his